Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lavanya Vempalli. I'm the Digital Marketing Coordinator at EWS-KT Knowledge Transfer Foundation, and I will be your host for today. So, what exactly is World Environment Day? Why is it important, and why do we observe it? To answer all these questions in one sentence, the environment as we know it is deteriorating due to multiple factors. And today we gather here with a discussion that serves as a reminder of our collective responsibility to nurture and protect our planet. So, without further ado, let me brief you about today's event, introduce you to our panel members, and give you a little insight into World Environment Day 2024. So, this year, the theme for World Environment Day is land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. So, recently, scientists warned that 24 billion tons of fertile soil was being lost per year. One of the reasons for this is due to unsustainable agricultural practices. Globally, at least 2 billion people depend on the agriculture sector for their livelihoods. Therefore, it is vital that we adopt sustainable agricultural techniques that can safeguard the livelihoods of millions of farmers. So, most of you, when you registered for this webinar, had questions regarding soil health management practices, effects of soil health on agricultural productivity, green manuring, and many more topics. Today, we have with us experts from EWS-KT Knowledge Transfer Foundation, Wageningen University and Research, and Koppert Foundation, who will collectively answer questions which can help you address the challenges you face. So, our discussion today will span for a period of 1 hour and 15 minutes, followed by a question and answer session for 15 minutes. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to send them in the chat box and our panel members will address them. So before we start the session, I request you all to keep your microphone muted and use the chat box for questions. So let me begin by introducing our speakers for the day. We have with us Dr. Peter Kromann from Wageningen University and Research. Dr. Peter is an experienced plant pathologist, agronomist, and potato expert with over 20 years of dedicated service in agricultural research and development. Currently, he serves as an integrated pest management expert in horticultural systems research, where he is deeply committed to fostering knowledge exchange and capacity building across Asia and Africa. Thank you, Dr. Peter, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Dr. Peter. So next we have with us Ms. Lysette Lacambra, Technical Support Hub Manager at EWS-KT Knowledge Transfer. She has been working extensively with farmers for over 15 years, focused on knowledge transfer and training approaches that enable smallholders to be more productive and successful. She also develops technical materials to empower smallholder farmers with enhanced skills and knowledge. A warm welcome to you, Lysette. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Lavanya, as well, for organizing this event. Hello, everyone.
And our last speaker for the day is Mr. Markus Knapp from Koppert Foundation. Markus has 25 years of experience in agriculture and has been working with Koppert for the past 16 years, where he found a perfect alignment with his values and interests. His role as researcher and knowledge manager allows him to use his passion for biological control to develop sustainable and environmentally friendly solutions for growers. Welcome, Markus. It is my pleasure to host you and welcome you to this forum.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And now that we know our speakers, let's dive right in and begin the discussion. Once again, thank you for being here with us today. Let me begin this on a lighter note. If you had to sum up your current mood in one word, what would it be? Shall we start with you, Lysette?
In one word, Lavanya, I am excited. That's my mood for the day. Excited for this discussion.
That's good to hear. What about you, Peter?
I was actually going to say the same word, but I'm definitely very interested in this interaction to hear what all our participants can also add to our discussions. So I'm mainly excited, but also very interested.
It's great to hear. And you, Markus?
Yeah, and I wanted to say excited as well.
Okay,
So
Sorry.
it's good that everyone's excited.
I think I'm excited because, I'm curious what I will hear and what people will ask.
Yes, absolutely. So that was fun to know, and I hope your day gets more interesting with this discussion as well. So let's start with our first question, and this is for Peter. So, you know that the theme of this year's World Environment Day is land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. Could you please tell us how your organization, WUR, aligns its initiatives and projects with this theme?
Yes, let me try and do that. First of all, let me say happy World Environment Day to everybody, and a good day, good afternoon to everybody around on different continents. It's a great pleasure to be invited and being part of promoting environmental issues. So, and that is also something that is very much done from Wageningen University and research. It's actually it's a huge organization. We are one of the largest universities or agricultural universities in the world, and we develop innovation and knowledge related to environment, food, horticulture, agriculture, life sciences, all around, and also looking into information, innovation for policy making. So the issue of land restoration, I would also call it nature conservation, is something that we work a lot on. And also, if I include biodiversity issues, also very much so. Then we do also have colleagues, although desertification in the Netherlands is not a major issue, although it does happen. We do have colleagues also working internationally in arid and semi-arid areas where I think issues of desertification is more pertinent. So we definitely do. It's a major issue. Nature conservation, biodiversity conservation, and innovating within what is sustainable agricultural practices. So that is what we do a lot in the group where I work. We work mainly on open field crops, so arable crops and vegetables. And in those issues, what we mainly work with is sustainable agricultural practices. So moving away from the need to use agrochemicals and good management of inputs, and then also, of course, management of water, irrigation, fertigation, but also related to access to land, access to water is a major issue for farmers around the world. So we generally have, if you have land degradation can be done in many ways, but if you look at particularly at desertification caused by erosion from weather factors, then these issues are actually further away from where we normally grow the vegetables. I would say in our group, we normally grow vegetables in areas where we have easy access to water, we have good soil quality, and therefore for vegetable growing and desertification, when I thought about that the first time, I thought this is maybe not what we do in my group, but it definitely is when we think about land conservation and maintaining good soil fertility, which is all aligned with the same processes. So it's all different practices implementing in the field, also looking at policies to ensure that soil fertility is maintained, and this can be done in many different ways. We work a lot with farmer training. I think this is a major issue for land restoration or avoiding the desertification or having our soils being degraded. it has a lot to do with knowledge and right use of our lands. And a lot of farmers do not have access to training, information, and a lot of issues that we have also seen in Europe is happening around the world. I could claim that after the Green Revolution, farmers were often being, the agricultural inputs were being promoted so much, and also mechanization. So we went into monoculture, and that created some situations in many places where farmers just thought that soil and land is always there. That's what we have. What we don't have is good seeds, fertilizer, and other inputs, pesticides, for example. So we would just use the land without thinking about what happens to it. It will always be there. And a thought of soil has always and will always be there forever, which is not the case. We then realized after a while, if you grow the same crop with the same management, and if you exclude any other, try to exclude all other organisms from your agricultural land, weeding out everything else, killing all other beneficial or non-beneficial organisms, insects, bacteria, fungi, and what have we, you eventually end up with something that is less and less biologically functional. So a farm training, that's how I leave it. That's what we do a lot. I would leave it at saying we do a lot of training on good agricultural practices, sustainable agricultural practices. We also now are very focused on what we call nature inclusive practices to make sure that we conserve land and biodiversity. And I think farmer training is key for maintaining our soil qualities. Let me leave it there.
Thank you, Peter. That's brilliant to hear. I'm sure the activities, the training that WUR is doing for smallholder farmers is really helping them. And as you said, natural resources aren't exactly finite, and it's important that infinite, and it's important that we promote sustainable agricultural practices. So moving towards Lysette now. Lysette, would you like to share what EWS-KT does?
I think we have a similar thing with Peter. So again, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and also happy World Environment Day. I think from our side, we at EWS-KT Knowledge Transfer Foundation, we align on the initiatives and projects on this year's theme of generation restoration by focusing on sustainable agriculture practices, as well as similar as what Peter mentioned, especially on vegetable production, because that is our core topic that we share to farmers through showcasing in key farmer demos. So we have demonstration farms in different KT projects that we train farmers from seed sowing until harvesting, and also innovations and other sustainable practices that are being shown in our KT learning farms, where different actors or stakeholders can visit to learn more about these practices. As our core strategy, we continue empowering farmers through training and capacity building programs. Aside from farmers, one important aspect that we also do is to continue equipping knowledge and skills to relevant stakeholders like agro-input dealers, local extension workers, and farmer leaders, like what we call in KT, the community farmer trainers or facilitators, in partnership with government organizations or private organizations in the project areas. So this one also keeps it more sustainable in our side, because our technical field officers will not be there forever in the project areas. So when you build also capacities of these local communities, our EWS-KT or our foundation fosters a culture of environmental stewardship and encourages active participation in restoration efforts. So one example that I can share as well in this theme on generation restoration is the current implementation of projects. For example, is the big one is the green manure projects that we are currently implementing in Uganda, India, Ghana, and Nigeria, which is funded by Netherlands organizations and also implemented in partnership with Wageningen University and research. So Peter and also his teams are also involved in this big project on green manure. So I think that's just some of the activities that I can share, Lavanya. I think we can deal it later on when there are some questions or also related questions. Lavanya?
Thank you, Lysette, for sharing. That was really interesting to hear what EWS-KT does. And I think it's crucial that smallholder farmers are equipped with the right skills and knowledge. So, Markus, what does Koppert do along the same lines?
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody, again. Also people who joined a bit later. I want to put my, I'm working at Koppert. And at the same time, I'm also active at the Koppert Foundation. So first I will tell you a bit what Koppert is doing, then briefly what we do at the Koppert Foundation. At Koppert, we partner with nature. We have been, for more than 50 years, we have been developing solutions that come from nature to help growers to control pests and diseases and to make their plants more strong and healthy. And this also includes products that improve soil biodiversity and soil life. That's one part of it. And with our natural solutions, we help to reduce chemical inputs. Peter was mentioning that traditionally a lot of pesticides were used. So we are producing natural enemies and natural products that can control pests and diseases. This will help to reduce the impact of pesticides, and this automatically will help to improve soil life because there are less negative impacts on soil. We do this together with the growers because the growers are our clients, and we want to produce products that help them to improve their agricultural practices. So we are always in close contact with growers to see what they need and if we can help them. We also work with a lot of advice and training because we don't just sell products like we always sell products together with advice. So our people in the field, they consult with the growers and help them to develop their biocontrol and integrated pest management strategies together and advise them on the right products to use. So that's the Koppert side. And when Koppert turned 50 years in 2017, Koppert Foundation was started, which is more to help especially small-scale growers in Africa and Asia and Latin America to improve their systems. And there we use our knowledge we have as a company to help farmers, and we also give financial contributions to projects and organizations that want to improve the livelihoods of small-scale farmers in these countries. And for example, if we come to soil restoration, which is not also in desertification, which is not our core business, but I want to mention one example. We are supporting a project in semi-arid areas of Kenya, where soil is heavily degraded because lack of rainfall and maize monocultures over many years. That was recommended by the government and was recommended by, let's say, traditional agricultural input dealers. And we are supporting a project there where a local organization is developing a food forest to get this land, to improve this land again, and to catch the water that is there and conserve the water with different systems by growing, as I said, the food forest, a combination of vegetables and trees and other crops, and using green manure and using composting to get the soil alive again and to give a possibility to the growers, people living there, to earn money again from agriculture. Other projects we are also doing is, for example, together with EWS-KT Foundation knowledge transfer, we have projects to control a project in India to control bacterial diseases in tomatoes, which is a big problem, a soil-borne problem in tomatoes. And together with our expertise and products that are produced and sold by Koppert India, we have done one trial and we will repeat it to see if we can help the growers to control this important tomato disease. Yeah, that's for the time being from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Markus, for explaining. I'm sure what Koppert is doing is really helping farmers across the world. So all of you are invested and committed towards this cause and have multiple projects across the globe. So Lysette, you are working with smallholder farmers across 10 countries. What do you think are the challenges farmers across these countries face? And do you think they're similar?
Yeah, I've been blessed, I would say, to really see those different environment, different situations in those countries that we work on especially Knowledge Transfer Foundation project areas. I mean, but despite the variations in geography, climate, and also the socioeconomic factors, I think there are similarities in the challenges faced by farmers. And common challenges that we see include limited access to land. One thing that we can say is, most especially for women farmers, water scarcity, which is a very big issue, especially during dry season, and fluctuating market prices, lack of access to credit or maybe financial services, also inadequate infrastructures, the growing or increasing problems on pests and diseases, and also other climate change impacts. What differs that maybe I would say would be the extent of these specific challenges. You can find all of these challenges maybe in all of these KT countries, but the extent of these problems is different, and also the availability of solutions. For example, maybe farmers in various countries may struggle with accessing affordable and reliable irrigation systems. So just from our experience, I know that in India, the government gives subsidies to farmers for irrigation systems, and which is very important, or already is one way to address issues of farmers with problems on water management, and which in other countries you may not find these solutions or subsidies from the governments in these different countries that we work with KT. So I think from my side, from the observations, there are similarities, but it varies on the extent of these challenges. Lavanya?
Thank you, Lysette, for sharing what challenges farmers across the countries face. So now we move on to Peter. WR has been working with smallholder farmers too. In line with what Lysette has mentioned, can you share your experiences and solutions which would work for these farmers?
Yes, if I didn't think about some good practices, or let's say in-field practices or farming practices that small-scale farmers can use for maintaining good soil quality, soil health, soil structure, and water holding capacity, and other soil qualities. Then I think first of all, we should think about the major issues that are causing land degradation. And I think if I go back to what I was saying before about farmer training, I really insist that this is an important aspect, because a lot of our the land degradation is mainly done by bad management. And this is not caused by farmers and their unwillingness to collaborate. It's because they are being pushed to use practices that are not sustainable. And therefore, for example, the use of monocultures with maize, for example, or you have certain crops being pushed by governments that are subsidized or pushed by governmental programs, and then often going into large-scale monoculture. And in that sense, I mean, we can say monoculture in the sense of growing the same crop in the same land in one season. But then more extensive monoculture means that you continue to plant the same crop also over seasons. So you basically have no diversity, nor in space nor in time. And these issues is something that farmer training on having good crop rotations, the more diversity you have in your soil, the more diverse a microbiological community, microbiome you will have in the soil. So we always recommend to have crop rotations, have as much rotation between your crops as possible. This is both, and then you can also have diversity in the same cropping season by having smaller plots with different crops instead of growing one large plot with the same crop. So these are simple and good practices that unfortunately are not implemented by the majority of farmers. Then I can also, as an IPM issue, as I work on integrated pest management, I know a lot of farmers around the world are also degrading their soils by applying too much pesticide, or in some areas also too much fertilizer. So having access to few fertilizers, for example, and not good access to different alternatives makes farmers apply too much of something. There's a lot that can be improved by applying the right product at the right rate, at the right time, and the right place, as we say, with the fertilization. And this is actually, I think, a very important message to get out there. If we manage things right, apply the products that are needed when needed at the right place, the more precision we can have in the applications in space and also in time, then we will reduce this, like applying too much and when it's not necessary. And thereby we can maintain good soil health, because every time we apply too much, we have a negative effect on our soil health. That this can be you build up salts and have some issues with availability of other nutrients when you apply too much. And you also have pesticides are actually toxins. They kill not just what is on the foliage or in the fruits. If you are looking to protect your crop from bacteria or fungi on the mainly fungal diseases on the foliage, if you apply excessively, it will drip off and run into the soil, and thereby also affect soil communities. And this has clearly been shown in many places where there's an excessive use of pesticides, that soil fertility also goes down. So good management of pests and diseases, avoiding an overuse of pesticides and also an overuse of synthetic fertilizers, and going into then some practices that are alternatives for these. And for the fertilization, many good soil amendments that are based on natural processes are getting more and more available. And many places, at least farmers do have, if they do not have animal produce themselves, many places in the community there will be you can find access to manure from animals, and then you can even go into composting your residues and then using more natural-based fertilization issues or solutions. Or you can, as also was mentioned with Lysette was saying, we have a green manure cover cropping project looking into how we can use principally leguminous crops that fix nitrogen and thereby supply nitrogen to the soil and to either an intercropped commercial other crop or to a following crop after you harvest or incorporate your leguminous crops. So these practices have not been promoted extensively. I think for decades in many countries and governments have been focused on. There has been, of course, a need for informing farmers about the good benefits of synthetic inputs. But if it's not well managed and communicated, you easily have an abuse of these products. And then you also have certain, let's say, agencies that keep pushing without being aware of this. Actually, we don't need to push this need anymore. We should rather go into a awareness campaign about what happens when you apply too much. So there are many practices that farmers can actually, and also small-scale farmers can think about. And there's a lot of knowledge in many local communities. I've had the pleasure to work in many countries, and we tend to focus on new practices that are also from outside the communities. But there's in many communities where agriculture has been going on for generations, there's a lot of local knowledge also that can work locally and are good solutions for let's say alternatives to synthetic inputs. Yeah, let me leave it there. Lavanya.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing your experiences and solutions. I'm sure the farmers that have joined the discussion today will have found the advice you gave useful. So, Markus, I would like to ask you, how significant do you think the role of technology is in modern agriculture? And what do you think is an interesting innovation in the recent past that protects or conserves our soil?
I think it's difficult for me to give one example of a recent innovation that helps farmers, but I think, of course, technology is very important in modern agriculture and also helps to conserve soil, to improve soil health, and just helps the farmers to produce better produce, more environmentally sustainable. And if you look, I think it's not so much, Peter summarized a lot of things that can be done and that are already known, and some of them have been known for many years and maybe just ignored or forgotten in modern agriculture. I think if it comes to technology, I would rather go into things like, especially if you look into small-scale farmers, the tremendous improvement of access to knowledge and communication we had in the last, let's say, 20 years or so by just internet and smartphones. And so it's much easier now for many people to find information and to communicate with advisors than it was in the past. I worked in Kenya until 2008, and in that time, if you were somewhere in a rural area, you had no access or very difficult access to any information, and now it's very easy. I think that is very, very important. And a lot of knowledge is there, and we just have to make sure that it comes to the farmer who needs it, and the farmer learns and knows by training how to find it. And when we look a bit in the future of what is happening actually now, there is a tremendous increase, of course, in things like artificial intelligence and data science, and this will also help because it gets much easier or much cheaper and also accessible to small-scale farmers to, for example, monitor the soil, check if you actually have a soil-borne disease with a quick test. There are possibilities to look into the soil biodiversity with DNA tests that get more and more accessible and cheaper and cheaper. That will help to just look where is the problem and develop solutions to solve these problems. And I also think that it will help when it comes to desertification, soil degradation by erosion. It helps with the help of artificial intelligence together with, for example, the use of drones to get a much more better mapping of the environment and identify problems and problematic areas where you have where the risk of erosion or desertification is higher, and then go to these areas to take measures more directly as it was in the past. So I think a lot is happening. It's very exciting, and it's our role to not only get these things available to large-scale farmers in Europe or the US, but also make possible that smaller farmers in other areas can use this technology as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Markus, for sharing. So technology is So technology has always been a pillar of support for farmers, but the reach and extensive use of these technologies. Oh, Lysette, do you have a question?
No, I just have an additional point because I'm really wanted to bring this in picture because I also see a lot of questions about it. I think there are solutions, great solutions that were really mentioned by Peter and Markus, and it's also solutions that we try to bring to farmers that we train on in EWS Knowledge Transfer Foundation. But of course, it is very important, no, even if we don't have the one size fits all solution. So it differs per context, per country, per person, even in the same location or the same community, farmer to farmer already have that variations. And there are to address every challenge faced by smallholder farmers, we need integration of these solutions that works best for their own context. So it's crucial to recognize that the importance of context-specific approaches. I think someone mentioned here that we need a discussion with farmers, and that's very important in our work as extension service provider to really listen to farmers on their challenges and tailor these solutions to their needs. Additionally, fostering knowledge exchange and collaboration among farmers across different countries also facilitates the sharing of best practices. I just wanted to share something that I really like because we have this program on crop advisor trainer certification program, and also the agro input yielder certification program on general vegetable production trainings online. And we group these participants. This includes farmers, students, and different stakeholders in one WhatsApp group. And I see a lot of things happening by sharing their practices, even their production or learning and other training that they conducted in their location. So with this sharing of information with farmers, we built that continuous learning, not just from our side, from the extension services, but also the experience of these farmers together. And in one aspect that we do also in knowledge transfer is the learning farms, and we conduct action research. And action research is not just basically putting things, innovations in countries, but also asking farmers what are the problems, prevailing problems or challenges that they face on production, especially in vegetable production. And that's where we base our objectives in putting this research together with this field staff and also with farmers in around that learning farms to bring solutions to these problems. So I definitely agree with what one participant mentioned, that farmers listen to farmers' problems and their experiences because they can bring also relevant solutions together with other stakeholders, together with us as a partner in their production. And that's all, Lavanya.
Thank you, Lysette. So we just spoke about how technology plays an important role in modern agriculture. Lysette, do you think technology can address the issue of overexploitation of natural resources?
Definitely, Lavanya. I think when we say technology, it could be physical or it could be, through what we are doing at the moment, knowledge transfer. Those are technology that I perceive relevant for farmers. And technology plays a crucial role in addressing these issues of overexploitation of natural resources by enabling more efficient use of resources or management of resources, promoting sustainable practices and facilitating and well-informed decision-making. So this may be a simple technique or a more advanced one. One good example would be the use of smart irrigation system, which I'm always using the irrigation system because we've seen a lot of issues on water management, water wastage in different countries. And with the help of this smart irrigation system, it increases water use efficiency and reduces wastage of water resources. So also a simple example that we would like to push more in KT is the agroforestry, which doesn't only provide a better microclimate, or especially during extremely hot conditions and prevent soil erosion, but also we bring a continuous source for trellising when farmers need it, especially for vegetables that we recommend farmers or farmers usually install in their production. So at present, we also have a lot of digital tools, especially using decision-making, like on the use of fertilizers. Soil testing is very important technology. The pesticide selection tool that we actually, Wageningen University also developed with us. And also Markus, I think with Koppert Foundation, they have this non-target effects of pesticides, which is again a technology for me, which has the capacity to select a less toxic but effective product that prevents non-target effects, especially the beneficial insects. So by harnessing this potential of technology in combination with policy support, maybe awareness to farmers, because we always bring technology, but we don't bring in a better awareness on how to use it to farmers. Also have that public-private partnership, because we cannot do it alone. For us, for KT, we cannot do it alone. And community engagement, as I've mentioned, I always put that in emphasis. Community engagement, especially with farmers. We can work towards a more sustainable and resilient agriculture production and also taking care of the environment for the future. Lavanya.
Thank you, Lysette. Peter, a quick question to you. The practice of heavy usage of pesticides and fertilizers by farmers is still prevalent in many areas. Do you think technology could be a solution? Or what action do we or farmers need to take?
Yes, let me begin also where I think most needs to be done, again, about farmer knowledge about pesticides and also fertilizers. The more information and technologies that we can have to give information to farmers. For example, a pesticide selection tool that we have developed in our team together with East West and other let's say, smartphone applications that can pass information to farmers. I think these technologies are very important for passing information to farmers so that they know what to do. A lot of the use of inputs, as I mentioned before, is done because farmers are not fully aware of how different active ingredients of pesticides should be used, for example. And knowing about the mode of action group of a pesticide so that you can correctly alternate the use of different agents for pest control. And this there are also other issues related to, depends on where we are and what technology is available. But if we think very broadly about, particularly in tropical countries, there's also a lot that can be done with the application technology. A lot of farmers are using application technology which is not optimal for applying the right volume and having the right coverage of the foliage, for example. So hopefully there will also be in the future easier access to good application technology for farmers in many areas. And there's other issues. You can also go into technologies about applications that help you in the decision making for when to apply and when not to apply according to needs. And you can also then think about maybe in the near future we can have some locally specific recommendations for management so that we can have mapping of regions, areas, or even fields, so we can have variable rate applications, or at least in some areas say this pest is not here at this time, so we do not need to spray for it yet. We can wait until we have a good mapping and identification of the first incidents, and then you start applying. So yeah, there are many good options that hopefully in the near future, with good let's say facilitating environments for new technologies and registration, for example, also biological control products. These types of products are being limited in many places because the registration of them in the official systems is being limited, or you are not allowed to import and use. So there's also a lot related to in the information and communication technologies across the sector is also something that will help, I would believe. Yes, Lavanya.
Yes, thank you, Peter, for talking about some solutions that farmers could use. So, Markus, do you think climate change? Lysette, would you like to add something?
Yes, just a follow up on what Peter mentioned on the information and communication, because I just had this particular scenario, also a challenge that our team faced just this week, that someone mentioned to me that we have a very good recommendations on the use of pesticides, and we even have this training on responsible use of pesticides. Training for farmers and training for extension workers. But then when farmers go to input dealers try to, let me make it very strong here because it's happening everywhere. And agro input dealers tend to share multiple solutions by selling different products or products that are not related to the recommendations that we have. So one particular move that we really encourage in our project areas, as I mentioned earlier, is to also involve these agro input dealers in training programs, because they are they're the initial people or stakeholders, as is farmers also have the communications, especially on when they buy products that they will use in their farms. So I just want to emphasize that importance of better information and communication, as Peter mentioned. Lavanya?
Thank you, Lysette, for sharing. Markus, do you think climate change is increasing the risk of soil-borne diseases, and how can farmers mitigate this risk?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. And when I read it and thought about it first, I thought probably it will, because through climate change you get more unstable weather, you get more drought, and then you get more heavy concentrated rainfalls. So and soil life, which helps to prevent soil-borne diseases. Of course, it's much better when the conditions in the soil are stable, and when it dries out and then it gets too wet and it dries out again, it gets too wet. So that's very difficult for all these bacteria, fungi, small insects in the soil that constitute soil life to develop. But then I started to look around a bit also in the literature, and it's not very clear. There are models that say it will increase, but I think generally it depends on where you are and what you grow and how the weather is changing. There are, of course, if you go to the north where we are now, even with higher temperatures, you will get more, there are some soil-borne diseases will increase with higher soil temperatures. In other areas, it was shown that if you already have a high incidence of soil-borne diseases, it might get a bit lower. But in areas where you don't have or where very low levels, it will increase. Of course, that's dangerous that's dangerous, especially for the growers in the new areas that are not used to it and don't know it, and they suddenly get it. So it's not easy to say it will go like this, it will go like that, but there will be certainly areas where it will increase. And what can farmers do? I think, yeah, they have to use the toolbox we have. Peter already mentioned a lot of things that can be done, technologies like make sure that you have a healthy soil life, make sure that you have enough organic matter in your soil, use a rotation where you rotate crops that are not susceptible to the same type of kind of soil diseases. Look for varieties that are adapted to the conditions you have and that are resistant or tolerant to these diseases. So that there are a lot of possibilities, just good agricultural practices in general, and we have to make, we as people who are informing and advising growers and trying to train growers, we have to make growers aware that there is a risk, that there is an increasing risk in their areas to get soil-borne diseases, and advise them on these methodologies I just mentioned, and many more Peter mentioned earlier, just to make sure that you grow your crops in a way to minimize the risk. And I think rotation is in this case the most important thing. And make green manure, keeping your soil covered, make sure that there is organic matter in the soil. Organic matter feeds soil life. If necessary, you can apply products like the Trichoderma species or mycorrhiza that also helps to improve the soil life. But I think if with just managing it properly, we can do a lot. Okay, Lavanya.
Thank you, Markus, for sharing some solutions that farmers could use to mitigate the risk that climate change poses. Moving on to Peter now. How do you ensure that sustainable farming techniques are culturally and contextually appropriate for the communities you work with?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think it's really important that we engage with the farmers that we are working with, that we do not just have what we call a top-down implementation of what we believe are good solutions. I think and also particularly for sustainable agricultural practices, it's important that farmers have the same understanding of why we are doing it. They feel some kind of also hopefully some kind of ownership of implementing something. And if I take something very external, as for example, also improved varieties, which I also think is a very important technology for sustainable farming. With good varieties that are well adapted to the local context and are resilient towards abiotic and biotic factors, disease resistant and tolerance to pests and tolerant to drought situations, for example. These issues are very important for sustainable practices and the need for using external inputs. I can go back to saying that I think our crop variety development maybe I should see continues, or in the past has been very focused on producing under optimal conditions. So we have varieties that produce very well if they have optimal water and nutrient supply and so on, and are under protected environments or good environments, and then they produce. But I think for many farmers across the world, for us not to continue to move into new land, we need to be more productive on the land that we do have. And there, the new varieties are immensely important for maintaining yield and quality. And then also these characteristics that can maintain good production under very diverse production conditions. So when I go back to then say, okay, we introduce a new variety in an area, I think it's very important also to engage with the local community to communicate with them and get information and feedback from them. What do they think about these new varieties? And similar for any other practice that you bring into a community, or you demonstrate in plots, or you do trainings. Engage with the community, have discussions, and these can be more or less formally organized. You can also have evaluations with farmers at a demonstration where we have been using practices in the past where you give them 5 or 10 stones, and then they evaluate varieties, for example, or practices, and then according to how much they like the practice or the variety, they put down 5 stones or 1 stone if they don't like it very much. So you get some feedback about farmers' ideas about the practices that are being implemented or promoted. It's all about engaging with the community and getting feedback from them. So this can also be more or less elaborated questionnaires about details of the technology. And we can have maybe identified some aspects that we are concerned about, and then we ask them, what do you think about this particular issue? And then you can also have it, you can culturally say, you can also go into just very openly say, is there something here you do not like? Because there may be cultural issues that if I, at least as an international worker, I go to many places where I'm not familiar with the local culture, and there may be something that I have completely not thought of, which is non-acceptable in the local culture. So you also have to be very open in your question and consider that what we some people in one place believe is culturally acceptable, in another place maybe it's absolutely not. So engage with the communities, have discussions, and make sure you have good feedback. That's the experiences that we've had in the past.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing your experiences. Lysette, how crucial do you think collaboration between organizations is in addressing complex environmental challenges?
It's extremely crucial, I would say. So that's why Peter is here, Markus is here. We partner together. So collaboration between organizations like what Knowledge Transfer is doing with Wageningen University, Koppert Foundation, and We also have KABI and also other funding organizations that we have in different project areas is very crucial in addressing complex environmental challenges. And first, I would say we leverage the expertise, diverse expertise, because for KT, partnering with WUR that have a solid background on research and training, especially related to environment management. So that really also builds more of our capacity as extension service provider to farmers. With Koppert Foundation, they have a better understanding on and experience on bringing biosolutions for farmers. And in addition, we also partner with KABI, who has an excellent skills framework for agriculture platform that can that we can use as we can utilize to continuously build the capacity of the extension or the technical field staff of KT and even the farmers that we support. So in addition, we work closely with our commercial company, the EWS-KT, especially the agronomy team, the commercial team, and bringing more suitable and quality varieties to farmers, and specifically the agronomic practices that is unique to ensure that these seed varieties meet the potential, the production or potential production for farmers. By working together, these organizations can also increase their impact and reach a broader audience, because also Peter, they have a different audience, extension workers, for example, who they train in different countries. Also Markus, they also have different farmers that maybe they can also bring in the online learning that we have in KT. And for us as well as KT, we also use these platforms or tools that were developed by our partners to address issues or really bring more solid recommendations to farmers. So collaborative initiatives have the potential also to mobilize these greater resources that I mentioned and implement interventions at larger scales rather than having doing it individually. So for KT, partnership is indeed crucial to sustain our activities in giving excellent extension services to farmers, and we encourage more partners. So maybe if there are like-minded organizations listening to our webinar right now, so we also who are interested in collaborating with us in bringing solutions for farmers, you are very welcome to contact us and explore the possibility of partnering with us. That's all, Lavanya.
Thank you, Lysette, for sharing. So before we go to the question and answer session, I would like to provide a minute for each of the speakers to summarize or add a point you would like to share with our viewers. Can we start with you, Lysette?
I think just by having this discussion, Lavanya, is already an important way or approach to bring this solutions to this growing issues on environment. And as I've mentioned at the beginning, the importance of having discussion not only with the partners but also with farmers, listening to their needs is we need to prioritize or keep on doing it, and also to explore more possibilities of partnering with different, not just on international level, international organizations, but we also have very good local organizations, especially in KT countries that we work with, that we can also partner, because they could also have that knowledge on a better context-specific solutions for the farmers in their countries. So that's all I could say. And thank you very much, Lavanya, and also Swaroop, for bringing us together in this discussion.
Thank you, Lysette. Markus, would you like to add something? Markus?
Sorry, I was still muted. I agree with Lysette. I think it's important that we partner, we collaborate, we listen to the farmers, and we try to get the right information to them. And we work together, and doing a webinar like this, where we share our ideas and our knowledge, already helps a lot, also to make people aware what is there. I think especially for Koppert, I think we will, of course, continue to develop solutions that will help growers to produce better and healthier crops and to control the diseases and pests and solve the problems they have with natural solutions instead with pesticides, synthetic pesticides, or too much synthetic fertilizers. I think that's important. There's a lot on the market, but there is still a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges where we do not have the best solution yet. Okay, thank you, Lavanya.
Thank you, Markus. Peter, would you also like to add something?
No, I think I would just say, following up on Markus' and Lysette's very nice input, saying that it's very important to listen to farmers and other participants. So I think I would rather than having me saying more, let's hear if there are some questions from our participants.
Thank you, Peter. So our discussion today has triggered a lot of questions, which we will start answering now. So the first question is from Sylvie from EWS-KT. This question is for all of you, so please feel free to answer. Many of the activities you refer to are demonstrated on small areas or piloting via projects. How would it be possible to scale them up to have larger impact, and what would it take to succeed?
I can start, maybe Lavanya, because we've been discussing these things with Sylvie for many times, and I just wanted to share the one that we have on green manure, which is a very difficult. We have difficulty actually in presenting that to farmers, because farmers usually plant main crop from main crop to another, and it's very difficult for them to integrate that technique in their farms because of their issue on, of course, they wanted to have a continuous production, a continuous income. So I think for a certain demonstration or projects like this green manure, it's very important that we involve at the beginning, even at the beginning of this implementation, or even in the proposal making, the farmers. What are the current practices that we have? How do they deal with this? Or what are their conventional practices, and how do they think green manure can be incorporated in their processes? I think that the question should be thrown to farmers and not just us bringing the solutions to these farmers. So for the project on the green manure, we map what are the current crop covers or green manure that we can use in the countries, and also the second year as what the project proposal was made, is that to bring in farmers in the discussion and the training, and also reflections on how you can use or scale up that techniques, a good technique that they can use in their farms. So I think adoption matters when you bring in farmers as the owner of that project, or as the owner of that certain discussion on problems that they experience on their own farms. Back to you, Lavanya.
Thank you, Lysette, for speaking about green manuring. Would Markus or Peter like to add? Okay, we'll move on to the next question then. So the next question is from Senit from Cambodia. Lysette, this question is for you. But Peter and Markus, feel free to add your thoughts. I would like to ask the expert. The question from Senit is, I would like to ask the expert on some vegetable that didn't produce the fruit during the hot season from March to earlier May this year. And the example is long bean vegetable. It's full of leaves and good stems, but the flowers keep falling and the price is raising from 0.5 USD to $10 per kg. Has this issue happened in your country, and what did you do with your farm? Farmers here are facing a similar problem. Access to finance, water, and learning is an issue.
So you want for the yard long bean first, Lavanya, right? I think we
Yes.
had a similar problem also in the especially in Cambodia and India when they have this problem on the fruiting of yard long bean. Diagnosis is very important. It's not just on giving the right answer on what brings the problem. Diagnosis means that checking also the soil quality, soil moisture, which are very important factors in the production, and also the suitability of the variety that you planted in that season. Is it really suitable during that dry season? Because it could be that this variety is not really performing well during the dry season. So one thing that those things should be also put in place. Another is the fertilization program, because the more that you give nutrients, or especially nitrogen, we call it in the Philippines tabal. You always expect a lot of the foliage, but not on the fruiting, because you will also have that problems on the uptake of the potassium, for example, in that's responsible in the fruit settings. So there are different factors that you have to make sure that it's happening or it's present in the area. So you can also make sure you can also diagnose well what brings that problem to your yard long bean. So for Cambodia, I think to diagnose it well, you can contact our team, knowledge transfer team in Cambodia. Maybe we can also put here, if someone from Cambodia team is here, please make sure to check the farm or discuss more the problem of Mr. I forgot the name. I saw the name, but yeah, I forgot. So please make sure that you contact some of the experts in the area, so it can help you to diagnose well what really transpired in your production. Lavanya?
Thank you, Lysette. I hope this helps you, Sinet. You can also reach us through Facebook or our website to get more information and assistance. Moving on to our next question is from Alvarez, Philippines. Is biotechnology a good way towards environmental sustainability in agriculture? Markus, would you like to take this? Please unmute yourself, Markus.
Sorry, I don't do this very often, so I forget to switch on my microphone. No worries, let's start. Yeah, biotechnology, of course, can help. If we were talking about developing better varieties, Peter was talking about developing varieties that are better adapted to the conditions instead of these, or what varieties we have now that perform very well under optimal conditions. And biotechnology certainly is a way to do this. So of course it can help, and I think we have to invest more into this, and also for developing varieties that are adapted to the conditions where many of these farmers have to produce, and not concentrate on these high input systems in the north of the earth. Thank you.
Peter, would you like to add something?
Yes, I can just add it's related to Markus saying and also what I expressed before, I definitely think variety development continues to be incredibly important for sustainable practices. And these new breeding technologies that we are seeing will accelerate that. And hopefully also we will get some good feedback from farmers about which characteristics are really needed. So we can have some sustainable practices that are maintaining good soil health and maintaining production in also very diverse production environments. So that I think definitely biotechnology will be a solution also for sustainable practices across the world at different levels. We can also have different types of bio inputs that can be implemented with better information in biotechnology. So yes.
Thank you, Peter and Markus. So we have a lot of questions asking on how they can reach out to you. So if you could just tell our audience how they could reach out to you, would be great. Peter, would you like to go first?
Yes, I can leave my email here in the chat, and then according to my availability, I will see if I can answer the questions. So let me do that. I will put my email in the chat, and you are welcome to write me an email for any questions that you may have.
And Markus? Please unmute. Sorry, Markus.
Again, I hope when the webinar is finished, I will also leave my email in the chat. And of course, you can look if you are interested on the Koppert Foundation and you are interested in Koppert as a company, you will find the websites easily if you type Koppert or Koppert Foundation into Google or any search engine.
Thank you. So our next question is from Rommel Rufino. As far as vegetable production is concerned, the problems that many farmers face is acidic soil due to continuous use of synthetic fertilizers. And so that is the first question. The second question, again from Rommel, is how to control soil-borne diseases and viruses in the soil. Are there any technological solutions that can help farmers? So firstly, it's an acidic soil issue due to synthetic fertilizers, and how to control soil-borne diseases and viruses.
This is the question I was typing. Both questions are to me, directed to me. I must say, I'm not by training. I'm standing in for a colleague who knows much more about soils than I do. But I will try to answer on the acidity. Of course, you can help with adding calcium to the soil and by using organic fertilizers instead of putting too much synthetic fertilizer, you can get it less acid and you can stimulate soil life. But as I said, I'm not very good at this, so I will leave it at this. And the second question, how to control soil-borne diseases. As I said earlier, the key is first of all to prevent. They are all difficult to control when you have them. And the key is to prevent by rotation, by stimulating your soil life. And if you have them, then you can look for varieties that might be more tolerant or resistant. And there are certain products on the market that will help. For example, trichoderma-based products, they will help to, they are not really controlling it, but they will help to reduce the severity. They will compete on the root with these fungi. In this case, it's fungi causing diseases by occupying root space, and the fungal disease has less chances to infect the plant. And otherwise, it's really a bit specific. If we have specific combinations of disease and crop, I might be able to give more specific advice, but that's it in general.
Lysette?
I think I can just add for the soil acidic conditions. One initial result that we have. Well, I'm talking of the green manure because we're having this green manure project at the moment. So one result that they already have, initial result, is the importance of improving the soil pH by using green manure, especially in India. So that's what one initial result of increasing 1 unit actually. So we started from 5, soil pH 5, then now it's 6. So I think importance of integrating green manure and even more organic matter to your soil also helps manage the soil pH. And yeah, I hope that can also be a way to encourage you to try in your case if you have a very bad problem on soil acidity.
Thank you, Lysette and Markus.
And I think for the soil problems, soil-borne diseases, Peter and Markus were bringing this good quality of varieties, and there are different varieties that are available that are very resistant to soil-borne diseases. So also one project that we have, as Markus already mentioned, on bacterial wilt in India on tomato. We use these 2 products from Koppert to manage this bacterial wilt even in susceptible varieties, and it really brings a very good result. And it already ended, and we will replicate it to farmers' field. We have the report sharing on June 27 during our Around the Vegetable. So please, you're also welcome to join that discussion and see the result of using those products to manage soil-borne diseases, especially the bacterial wilt.
Thank you, Lysette and Markus. We have another question from Rudy. So Rudy is addressing this question to Markus. Do you recommend hydroponics farming to help farming become more sustainable? Because soils are now so degraded, do you think hydroponics could help the environment?
Yeah, I think it can, but this is in specific conditions. I mean, I'm where I live, and what was the major market of our company in the past is hydroponic farming in greenhouses in the Netherlands. And of course you can, because you are out of the soil, you can avoid soil-borne diseases, and you can discard your hydroponic medium or recycle it and clean it and sterilize it. It will help, but I think it's a solution for specific areas. It is a solution for high-value vegetables on small scale, because it's an expensive technique, and you have to have access to the growing medium. And you have to think well what you are using, because some of these things are taken from nature and they are having negative impacts on the environment. Again, we have a lot of discussions in Europe on peat now, or there is unorganic things used like rock wool. So it's a solution, as I said, for specific situations. And if you produce vegetables that you can sell for a relatively high price and you can afford it, and it's economically viable, you should go for it. But it's not a solution for large scale growing of things like wheat or maize or soybeans or potatoes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Markus. We have another question from Ajak. How do you raise the pH from 4 to 5 to become neutral for vegetables, as it affects nutrient availability? Lysette, would you like to answer this question?
I think I already mentioned it, Lavanya, a while ago. I hope that answers the question of the soil acidity.
Okay.
I can just add from my side that when I didn't
please go ahead.
intervene on the pH, I would just repeat, as was said before, like the most important is, or you can use, is liming. Having there can also be different types of liming, but liming is the one practice that is broadly used for increasing pH. And then you have other additional feeding the soil with carbon and using some natural manures, compost will also create a microbial community that can bring the pH up. So you feed the soil with carbon, you feed the soil with something that can enhance your microbial community, and that will also stabilize pH. But liming is the one practice that is used and can be used in the scenario that was described. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for providing a solution. Moving on to our next question from Idris Ibrahim. He asked, does excess use of organic fertilizer have an effect on crop production? Peter, would you like to answer this?
And then I'll have to ask you to repeat the question, please.
Does excess use of organic fertilizer have an effect on crop production?
Yeah, anything can be an excess. So you can say that you could eventually apply so much that you have so much mineralization over too long a time that the organic manure will cause a problem. And you could also have a scenario where you are applying some material that have soil-borne or pathogens or pests in the organic manure that causes problems. So anything that is in excess can happen, but it's about managing it well, and it's very rarely that you would see an excess of green manures being applied. Of course, you have the mineralization process of the nutrients that you are hoping to supply to the soil that will be taken up by the microbial community for a while before they are mineralized. And so these issues of the carbon nitrogen ratio should be considered. But generally, I would say to farmers, don't be afraid of applying too much carbon, green manure, or natural organic material to the soil. The more you feed the soil, the better.
Thank you, Peter. So we have another question from Kwaku Debra from Ghana. How can crop diversity influence soil microbial composition and abundance? And what strategies can improve soil fertility? Lysette?
I think Peter can help.
Peter?
I would say Peter would be the right person to address this one.
Let me hear the question again, please.
The question is, how can crop diversity influence soil microbial composition and abundance, and what strategies can improve soil fertility?
Yeah, we've already mentioned many of them. The crop diversity is about supplying different, let's say, carbon, organic molecules to the microbial community. The more diverse that is, the more diverse the microbial community will also be, and thereby having different functions in the soil being supplied by different species of microorganisms in the soil. So the more diverse your cropping system is, the more diverse your soil biome will be, and thereby you will also have a more resilient soil to different aspects, stress factors that may be concerned. And you will have a soil that will also mineralize and feed on organic material faster. So these are practices that can be used is using the let's say different types of organic material to feed the soil. This goes from crop residues to animal manure to composting, we also consider agroforestry with trees in the same plot, supplying carbon very deep into the soil. So there are many practices that can be used. Let me keep it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for explaining. So I think we have time for 2 more questions. Raman Karimi asked how to fix high water salinity.
You have a desalinity equipment. If your irrigation water is very saline, then you do need to have some type of equipment, osmotic equipment or something to bring the salinity to a different point, or you dilute it. If you have access to clean water, it can be diluted, but that is often not the case. So salinity in irrigation water is very hard to manage, and you need to have special equipment to desaline the water. If you talk about salinity in the soil, then that is also very much related to arid or semi-arid areas where you do not have a washout of salts from the soil by water and excessive water. So there are, in those cases, for salinity issues in areas where you have problems with salinity, I also think that the main, again, farmer training to be aware of how different crops react to salinity, because there's a lot of variety within crops, different crops, and also within crop species, within crop varieties. And you can also think about having systems that that you supply these organic materials to the soil. Also mentioned before, the soil, feeding the soil with carbon would also reduce salinity over time. These are issues. But then, okay, maybe the most important issue we can think of as innovation in agriculture is variety, and you can do a lot with breeding to have more saline tolerant varieties.
Thank you, Peter, for explaining. So we have a final question from Rudy. Rudy says that they're facing an alarming situation for banana farmers in Mindanao Island, Philippines. How can we counter fusarium wilt disease for banana? Lysette, would you like to answer?
I'm not a banana expert, but I have friends working in the banana companies. I think Markus company or the Koppert Foundation also have that very good product that can be explored to combat fusarium wilts, mainly on the improving the soil health. This is more important. I think there are also, I have friends who are also conducting research on breeding resistant varieties for banana against fusarium wilt. Although maybe it's not yet available there. I think the Netherlands, they are growing bananas right now to really address these issues of diseases in banana. That's only what I can share from what I've learned from my friends or colleagues also in the banana industry. I think Markus can give more from their side if they have solutions from Koppert.
Yeah, as you mentioned, of course, trichoderma-based products, they will help to reduce the incidence, but they are not really controlling it 100%. And this, I think the key is, as you said, that there are banana now at WUR in the Netherlands where people are looking into solutions. And again, in this case, the key, I think, is that we have to look into breeding and varieties, because all these bananas, they are all the same all over the world, and now they are attacked by that single fusarium. And without the key is, and that is people are working on, and that is of course not a short-term solution that will help you now for next season, is to get bananas that are resistant or tolerant to this fusarium disease. As long as we are this is not the case. You can try with trichoderma-based products to reduce the incidence. Unfortunately, our product is not available in the Philippines because to registration issues that were mentioned by Peter also earlier.
Thank you, Markus and Lysette. So we have one more question. Bapu Devkate is addressing this to Lysette. Agriculture, being a biological system, is always exposed to different climatic conditions, emerging diseases and pests, market changes, government policies. How do you think a farmer should plan their cropping pattern so that they can continue feeding the increasing population across the globe?
It's very important question about read it right, but definitely asking also support from different actors, especially extension workers in your location, to get this knowledge on the right crop or varieties that you can grow, the farmers can grow in that specific season, for example, with the different environmental issues or challenges, and also bringing also in the picture other stakeholders or even the whole value chain, for example, the market vendors or the consolidators, also in looking at the demands that maybe they require in the market, because that also helps you to be a better entrepreneur, not just a farmer, but a better entrepreneur by knowing your markets and also the market needs or market demands. And I think more on the knowledge, information, and communication, as Peter mentioned, is bringing also that awareness or the eagerness from the farmer side to learn more or improve more in their production. Because even if you have the good crop calendar, but you don't have that overview of the things that you need that can help you sustain your production, then that is also hinders your capacity to supply or create a better production for the growing population. So I think that's my perspective, Lavanya.
Thank you, Lysette. So with that last question, we come to the end of the session. Thank you to all the speakers. It was very insightful listening to all of you. So soil conservation is a very extensive topic, and we believe this discussion here today might have answered some of our questions, sparked some thoughts, and maybe paved the way for a better future in soil restoration. So a tree begins with a seed. Generation restoration begins with you. So let's continue to work together towards a more sustainable future for our planet. Thank you all once again for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Markus and Peter. Thank you, Lavanya. So, thank you, everyone.
Happy World Environment Day. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
World Environment Day. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, happy World Environment Day. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.